Hey there, monkeys. Grab that cup of coffee, kick back, and relax. We'll get started with a SITREP in just a minute. Hey folks, Monkey here. Let's talk about satellite phones for a minute. Head over to sat123.com and see the latest deals going. If you don't have one of these in your quiver, you're going to want to do that because there's a reason why the senators and the military and first responders are all getting these things added to their quiver. And it's because they are encrypted. They are it's a private comm situation. You can't be tracked wherever you're going. There are a lot of things. If the grid goes down, these things will still work. And so currently over at sat123.com, you can check out these Iridium phones. Here we go. The Iridium 9555 satellite phone. It is the best satellite phone ever made. In fact, I wish I had one of these phones. This thing is amazing. They have several plans going right now. You can get one phone for $99.95 a month. That's 100 minutes included. And the phone is also included. Plus, they sweeten the deal up even more. You get a $129 Garmin watch with that, which is pretty slick. And then if you want something for your family, they've got family plans as well. 2 Iridium 55 phones plus 2 Garmin watches. You get 200 shared minutes or text, $189.95 a month. That's a 24-month agreement. And then they have a bigger deal, actually. It's 3 phones, $279.95 a month. 300 shared minutes or text. Those are 3 Iridium 9555 phones plus 3 Garmin watches. That is pretty slick. Now, if you're still interested in the other phones, you can get them, but they are on back order. It takes about 4 weeks to get, and they sold out pretty quickly. So this deal here, they've got 1,000 phones set aside for the Monkey Nation. So they won't last long. So make sure you jump on this if you're thinking about it. Again, sat123.com. That's sat123.com. Or you can call them at 941-955-1020 and tell them Monkey sent you. All right, that's going to be it. You guys have a great day. We'll see you soon. Monkey out. All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your SITREP. It is 6/28/2023. It's around 11 a.m. Central Time coming to you from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. So without further ado, let's jump over here to our mini board. If you would, please hit that like, subscribe, bell for notification. It would be greatly appreciated. And let's do this. We're over in Skyglass as always, and we're sitting around 236 currently up. You can see the high flyers versus the low flyers here. We've already taken out the Tex 2s and the T38s. That gives us 61 Tex 2s, 13 T38s, and that'll put us at around 74, give or take. But let me bounce this back up. It looks like Europe's pretty busy as well. Again, we've got two R135s that are headed westbound. Let's see if they go back out on the route they did the other day. Like I said, just pay close attention if you're in California. If you're in the Q&A today, we'll talk about that more specifically. I do not want to discuss it to the masses for various reasons. But anyway, let's get into what's going on out there. We're going to look over here at the watch list. And you can see that Q4 drone sitting out over the water there to the southern side of California. That's a danger area as well. It looks like they've got eyes on something down there they're a little worried about. Also notice they've deployed a Q9 drone. Got a couple intel balloons there to the north. They look like they're low, but they're really high. And then, of course, we've got a couple B-52s and R-135. There's one of your balloons. We're going to talk more about that one in a second, too, because people are seeing that one, and they are talking about it. So that'll give you a little lowdown on that. We've got Flashbang en route to Chicago. And then we've got this one. Going to be Donald J. Trump headed southbound. Looks like he's headed back down to Florida. Going to probably see quite a bit of that with the trial stuff getting ready to kick off here pretty soon as he gets just blindsided. But anyway, survey plane there down south in Portugal, 2 mil intel balloons over Germany, P8 over the UK, then our Brio 66 doing the normal stuff around Kaliningrad into the west of Belarus, and then another Navy P8. Hard to tell who that belongs to because my screen is about this big. And then we've got a B-703. That's going to be an air refueler or a multi-role aircraft for Israel, all right? So that gives you a lowdown there. Let's take a look at the Intel aircraft. Notice, again, Southern California, out over the water. They're looking for stuff. Telling you there's something going on down there that they are eyes on, as well as other parts of California. And then we've got, it looks like Brio 66 or 68, sorry, is headed down to Florida. Look like some transitions. And then we got the usual suspects here. That's going to be Brio 66, running routes, again, looking very closely at Belarus and probably the Wagner group. And then, again, looking over at Crimea and stuff in Russia from that altitude. Let's see, nothing going on in Japan. We do have a little bit of stuff going on, as always, down in, now remember, this is an intel bird. That's down in the Philippines, and they tend to be there pretty frequently in that general area, probably near our base. And then, of course, check this one out, down off of the coast of Sydney. Again, intel aircraft looking at something down there. Remember, these airplanes, they have some serious capabilities, okay? We're talking LiDAR and all kinds of stuff. Okay, listening to comms, etc. All right, these are survey planes. These are not comm listening aircraft. These are mapping the ground, really, and all that implies. Okay, so we've got a little bit of look like some activity there in Australia. We're at about 201 for the last 3 days in terms of survey flights. This little spot right here, that is a mill base operation right there to the southwest of that. Looks like a little bit of movement near Stockholm, some stuff going on in Netherlands and Belgium. A little bit of work there in, looks to be Portugal and Milan, Italy. And then that Again, I've got to strip that out. I don't think that, I think that's a drone doing some stuff. It's just somehow it has been captured, tail number or hex code into my mix. So notice they are looking over north, Dallas and Fort Worth, over the DFW area to the north. So that'd be up there probably near Denton, etc. All right. Then we've got some stuff going on here, Southern California yet again, all the way up here. That looks like it's looking at Beale Air Force Base near Sacramento or over that area. Stuff up there near Eugene, Oregon, Seattle, Washington. We get over to North Dakota, very busy. And then it starts to fan out a little bit. The Northeast was getting slammed for a while. It looks like we've got a lot of transition lines, maybe even mapping highways to tie it into that battlefield mapping, because that is what I believe they are up to, folks. And then we get up here to California, or California, may as well be California. That's Canada. And looks like some stuff going on there north of Edmonton. So, okay, let's go to the drones. This is a Q4 drone. Keep in mind, this thing has the ability to look at FLIR, gather conversations, cell phone data. It's insane what they can do. At 60,000 feet, that thing is reading license plates, and it's gathering them as it just flies over these areas. And it's I'm telling you, there is no stone unturned with these drones. And same thing with R135. The capabilities on these are incredible. And you can see little one, that's a low altitude one. This looks to be, if I had to guess, it's probably a Q9, could be a Q4, but you can see from the climb out. Look at where it's going, though. It's headed out to the southern side of France and just that general area. It's kind of, I don't know. And then notice, too, they're looking at Benghazi very closely, all right? Okay, let's do this. We're going to talk mil balloons for just a minute. I'm going to hit pause because this, I don't have, well, let me see. I can probably tie it. Nah, I'm not going to mess with it. I'll hit pause for a second. Notice where this thing rolls in from. It's out over Montana, Wyoming kind of area, and then it's starting to come back towards the Dakotas and head eastbound. That's important. You may have seen some headlines recently talking about, oh, there's another balloon. We've spotted another balloon. And the White House was quick to say, well, you know, in the DOD, Pentagon, we're not going to shoot this down. We're just going to let it go. There's a reason for it, because this is not Chinese. This is U.S. intelligence balloon. And if they draw attention to it, or they say anything else about it, or the general public starts to get a little bit ramped up over yet another balloon, it's going to blow their cover on all of the balloon activity they have over the United States. Yes, it used to be Project Loon, but that has transitioned over to Raven Aerostar and Aerospace, whatever they're calling themselves these days. But these are DoD Intel balloons, all right? And they are all over our heads, overhead, sorry. You're talking probably, I've got 44 of them that I trace and track. And every once in a while, one of them will pop on the screen and then it'll disappear. But there's 44 of them that are out there, maybe even more than that. It is not a coincidence that the only other government out there that has these same balloons is Germany, okay? This goes all the way back to, you know, scientists coming over with NASA, et cetera. Okay, this is, it's not a coincidence, believe me. Now, that balloon, if people continue to push it, is going to be really interesting to see what the government's stance and take is on it. They're not going to shoot it down because it's our own balloon. They just don't want the general populace knowing that they have these mil intel balloons over their heads gathering data 24/7. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next piece as we talk balloons. We'll talk Ruskies for a second. We've been gathering their data. Actually, we talked drones. Let's go R135 because this is going to kind of dovetail into some things. Just notice it's over the usual areas to the, or over Russia, or not Russia, over Europe, sorry. And then over the Persian Gulf. Okay, just it's the same stuff we're seeing over and over and over. We do have one. It looks to be in and out of Okinawa. I don't know that's a good trace bouncing across China. That's not really, that didn't happen. All right, nothing going on in Australia, nothing in Africa. Get back over here to the United States and just draw your attention to the same area that they are searching right there out over the water. There is something going on down off of Baja in that general area that they have eyes on right now. Notice you have all three types of reconnaissance gathering data. It's going to be your intel, not balloons, but your intel aircraft, going to be your R-135s and your Q4 drones. Your Q4, again, the technology on all three of these systems is absolutely insane. In fact, even some of the R-135s have the ability at 40,000 feet, not 60, at 40,000 feet to sniff the air and basically tell if there's any type of radioactivity radionuclear stuff in the air. It's absolutely mind-boggling that they can do that flying at 550 miles an hour at 40,000 feet and gather all the data that they do. Now, I started to say 60,000 feet. That would be the Q4 drone, which has a multitude of capabilities. Depending on the cameras that are on board that, they could probably, from that altitude, take pictures of a golf ball and count the divots, okay? The technology is incredible. They have all kinds of different ways, probably thermal imaging, LiDAR, in terms of FLIR. It's probably limitless, and it's probably classified at all the stuff that it really, really does. So again, this is getting, technology is just going really crazy. When you start to mix that with the AI, there will be nowhere to hide. Okay. All right. Now let's do this. We talked about the mil intel balloons. We talked about the drones. Let's talk Ruskies for a minute, just in terms of where they have been. Then I'll transition into some of the news items that were going on out there. Notice they've been rolling in and out of Moscow pretty regularly. It's the last 3 days. We got one that's headed very far north that looks to be, I don't even know where that is because I'm not zoomed in on the map. But down south, I mean, they went in all different directions. So notice what we don't see here, right? Forget the trace that's running all the way across because that's not a good feed. That's going to be probably an AN-124 that came in. But notice nothing over D.C., nothing coming inbound from Moscow to D.C. So let's talk about that for a minute, okay? There was definitely, this right here is going to be an AN-124, more than likely going from Taiwan down to Bangkok, okay? But yesterday, there was a flight that flew out of Moscow, and we'll get over here to the news cycle and talk about it. The U.S. allowed Russia to basically bring a plane in, as they say, to retrieve diplomats. So when I first saw it yesterday, I thought, given the fact that all the communications have been severed between the United States, European countries, et cetera, with Russia, would it be likely after a coup attempt, more than likely supported by, paid for by, whatever it may have been, the United States agency that we call the Sea Agency? Is it possible that they sent someone over here to deliver a message to say, this is what we know, right? We're aware of the coup attempt, that you were behind it and supported it, et cetera, because we do know that the Wagner Group, and this was according to Glenn Beck and his sources, the Wagner Group was actually in touch with the White House. So that tells you all you need to know right there. But it wasn't just the fact that, we had that issue going on, but there was also, remember too, that they are still continuing to investigate the Nord Stream, and that also may have been another part of that. Now, even if that wasn't it, the fact that they are pulling their diplomats out of Washington, D.C., is also a very direct message. That prior to 4th of July, getting their guys out of Dodge, maybe that's an indicator that things are about to go to another level, okay? Especially if Putin thinks that the CIA or, the DOD or whoever it may be is behind the coup attempt. Okay. So keep our ears to the ground on this one, but I'm sure that this is not the last of what we're going to hear on all of this. And let's get over to this piece. This was the flight that came in. Now, I do find it very interesting. If you look at the original flight plan, that is that blue dot that's running across. That was the original flight path. Notice that it was going across Sweden, and then it goes in across Norway and heads out. It heads across, I think that's Estonia up north, or that is Latvia. I can't remember. Nonetheless, notice it heads across some of these NATO countries, and notice where the real flight path actually had to take place, and that was all the way to the north and then across. The satellite lost it here a couple times. You can see picked up here. It came down, lost it here in the gray trace, and then here it is going into DC. So, yeah, they had to fly all the way around, which is, I think, pretty interesting anyway. But that is what that flight took place yesterday, Moscow to Washington, D.C. Now, the thing I don't see is the return flight, but we will just assume that it is a different call sign or whatever it may be, and we're just not going to see it. All right, let's talk about Flashbang. Looks like he is headed to the old Chi-Town there at Soldier Field Landing Zone. Interesting. Okay, so he's arriving in Chicago. That is at 11:15 a.m. local. Sorry, 10:15 local, 11:15 Eastern time. And oh boy, this ought to scare all of us. He's delivering a major address on Bidenomics. That's the new buzzword here. His vision for growing the economy. Oh boy, are we in trouble or what? Let's listen to some of the latest things coming from Biden. I think you'll find it a little comical. Okay.
It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home.
So he's talking about Putin, and he says that he is clearly losing the war in Iraq. So, okay, now.
And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot.
So yeah, you heard that right. He is sitting at a table and making. He's just said exactly what you thought he said. I sold a lot of state secrets. Holy smokes. For the love of God, would somebody please get this guy out of office, take away the launch codes, and send him to a retirement home so he can just, whatever it may be, but just get him out of the White House, because it should scare every one of us that we are about to go to war with two of our biggest adversaries on the planet, and you got this guy in office that can't find his backside with both hands. He fumbles around at every moment. Every stage he comes off of, he's like pointing, trying to figure out where he's supposed to go, and it's scary. But yeah, there's some of your stuff there for you. Bidenomics, let's see how that's going as we transition over to this piece. Walgreens slashes earning guidance, blames cautious consumers, shares plunge to a decade low. All right, so over 10 years, I say they plunged more than 8%. Walgreens is kind of the staple. It's where you go to get, just the stuff that you need without having to go big, It's not a good indicator. We also hear these same warning and cautions from other stores like Walmart and Target and Home Depot. So, just pay close attention to it. I think it's comical when he tells people at a campaign rally or a campaign banquet or whatever it was that we're not going to have a recession, and all the indicators are actually showing that we're going to have a heavy recession. So I think the word they used was severe. All right, so just pay close attention to this, but that is where he is on our economy. Now, yesterday I had a couple folks reaching out to me because they saw air refuelers flying over very low altitude with the boom down, aircraft hooked up to it. So I just thought I would show you what that was. Indeed, we talked about this a little bit previously, but this was Operation Centennial Contact. And it's basically has to do with fueling global air power for 100 years. They were all over the United States, but they had 152 aircraft, 50 states, in one day. And you can see all the little details up here in terms of how many tankers it was, and then what they were exactly refueling as part of this celebration exercise. All right, get over here to Bitdefender and see what we've got going on today. It looks like we are getting slammed once again. What are we hitting? 9 months now, close to 9 months in a row of this level. It'll only get worse if we go into battle. Okay. Well, wait for ForeFlight to marinate here a second. There we go, baby. All right. Now, this, as you notice, a lot of activity showing on the screen right now. Not just the little ones, but the bigger ones. It is it's that time of year. You're going to see a lot of things moving around. Tanks on trains, etc. It's because all of them are getting ready to do that little 2-week deal that they do for National Guards, militaries exercising, doing that kind of thing. So the stuff up here in Canada is fires, right? But all this stuff, for the most part, around the United States, besides the TFR here, looks like we got something going on in New York that could be UN or anybody. It doesn't look to be big enough to be flashbang. And then we've got some other stuff here. We'll look at it from a different perspective without the NOTAMs in just a second. But yeah, you can see very, very active. Let me back it up a little bit. Notice we've got stuff going on up here in Alaska, all the way down to this general area in this box. Let's see, airspace reserved. Let's see if it gives us any indication on what it is. It does not. Yeah, nothing there. It just says it's reserved today until 7 p.m. All right. Then we get over here to Europe. You can see there's a lot of stuff going on actually in Russia. And so this is where that one flight was. It was headed up here into that part of Russia. But I was not 100% looking at the map because Russia and China are quite big, actually. So, but just notice that looks like a missile box right there, the long one. And we'll zoom in a little bit. Got a lot of things happening off the left coast, as we like to say. Looks very active and busy. United Kingdom out off of in the water, off of France, north of Spain. Stuff heading through. Looks like Switzerland, between Switzerland and France. A lot of the operations or exercises have recently ended, the big ones. But it looks like we're going to have a continuation of these things as we get into the summer months. Okay. All right. Now, we did briefly mention, I said we'd take another look at the TFRs, etc. This is, again, flashbang here. Again, if you get in, this looks to be, these are all air shows, but it looks like maybe they're rounding the bases, like you see them do from time to time where different cities in a particular area will, the Thunderbirds will fly over the cities and do, a little bit of stuff there. But that may be what we're looking at. I find it interesting that we've got the second day of these insane heat waves going on, and the only place that is still without power is kind of in this area. Now, this is going to be hotter than it was here in Dallas and Fort Worth yesterday, and actually all the way down here to the border. I think today is the peak. We're going to hit around 115 in terms of the heat index up here in North Texas, and then I think around 118 or so down near the border areas. So this area here is also going to get really hot. But again, these boxes here are power outages, but I was expecting to see a lot more given the heat. Now, let's see. Yeah, the New York piece, again, notice they're just smaller. It's not as big, even though those are pretty big boxes, but let me click on it and see. I just saw VIP. That's all I could see on that. So we'll check to see if there's anything that could be, again, this could be UN stuff. It could be flashbang, maybe, could be, but doesn't look like his normal, even though that is pretty large. But you can see these are always a lot bigger. And it's because of the Russian war in Iraq, if you weren't aware of that. And anyway, okay. So these are going to be space ops. Right? Okay, let's minimize that. Let's kind of get back into some of the news going on. No presidential election in Ukraine until the war ends. That's coming from Zelensky. And evidently, he has declared martial law, and that is part of their constitution. According to this, Ukrainian law states the presidential elections may not be held while martial law is in place, while the actor turned politician tenure is slated to end in March next year. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting little data point for you. The reality is our deep state, even though we know he was appointed in 2016 by the United States agencies, they ousted the guy that was pro-Russian, put their guy in play, all to protect everything they've got going on in Ukraine. Have had it there since the late 1940s. So they put this guy in. They can't afford to have him get unelected and have somebody else come in that may be pro-Putin. And so they're going to lock it down, not let any kind of elections go. Don't think for a minute they wouldn't try something like that right here if we were in a war. Okay. All right, here we go. Ukraine situation report. U.S. replenishes Kiev's Bradley fighting vehicle force. So they're saying that they are taking a beating. Latest report says 15%. I've heard upwards of 20%. And in terms of the stuff that we've given them has completely gone. And so if that is the case, this is what they're sending back in. It looks like we've lost 30 Bradleys and 25 Strykers because that is what we are sending them, another 30 Bradleys, 25 Strykers. And just give you kind of an idea what these vehicles look like. But yeah, so it says here, the second replenishment of Bradleys and Strykers. Earlier this month, the Pentagon announced it was sending 15 more Bradleys and 10 more Strykers to Ukraine. So now it's an additional amount. The other capabilities in this 41st presidential drawdown, the 41st time that we've pulled stuff from our own inventory, included, and this is crazy, you've got additional munitions for Patriot air defense systems, Stinger anti-aircraft systems. That's why you're seeing the helicopters get shot down out of the sky. From the Ruskies, helos are the ones getting popped. Additional ammunition for HIMARS, demolition munitions and systems for obstacle clearing, mine clearing equipment, 150 Mike and 105 Mike artillery rounds, tube-launched, optically tracked wire-guided tow missiles, Javelin systems, a T4 anti. This almost reads like a list that came out of Afghanistan, doesn't it? These giant lists of stuff that we just tend to give everybody, including the Afghanis. So anyway, that's where we are with this. And and he says that he's sincerely grateful to us, to all the American people for another $500 million defense assistant package. Yeah, Paxan there, Pedro. Taking my money, taking your money. I'm about sick of it. So let's move on. Here we go. Belarus wants Prigozhin's Wagnerites to train its army. So this is going to be your fog of war. There is so much information right now coming and going about what just took place. Is there a coup? Isn't there a coup? How many people were doing it? Well, did Putin basically tell the guy, hey, you're good, don't worry about it? There's just a lot of mis and disinformation going on right now. I would say just let the dust settle. This will all be figured out. My guess is that this right here is one of those things where you say, he's probably like, come, we break bread. And then helps him out a window. Okay, so this is just, like I said, I don't buy it. The Russians don't play that way. If you tried to overthrow anybody here in the United States, you'd be swinging from a rope straight up. And this is no different right here. This is your guy. Supposedly he was tight with Putin, but he's also pretty tight with some of other folks in the United States, if you know what I mean. Okay. In an address to the nation, Putin says the Wagner soldiers who took part in the revolt can join the army or go to Belarus. Again, come, we break bread. Let me show you the beautiful view from this window. You can see the entire city. Yeah, that's, yeah, exactly. I would not be surprised if we don't start getting reports that these guys are getting offed methodically throughout the country, throughout Belarus. I'll be shocked if they don't. All right, here we go. Taiwan detects 2 Russian warships off its coast. Yeah, that just happened. They say that it was detected sailing from south to north in its waters off their eastern coast. So if you get out here off of Taiwan, you go south to north, and we'll pop this map up if it will. Yeah, there we go. Let me back up. We'll get over here to this side of the house. This is going to be, so they're going, I said south to north, so they're headed, looks like heading back out in this general area, probably back up here to Russia. All right, so, but probably surprised them that how they got down there to begin with. All right. Okay. Now, this is an interesting data point for you. 9 dead, dozens injured after Russian warplanes attacked near the Syrian market. So this is interesting just because of the fact that, remember, we've got, there's a lot of folks doing damage inside Syria. Turkey is, Iraq is, the U.S. is, you have Russia in there, Iran is even in there, as well as Israel. So all of these different countries seem to be all focused in Syria for some crazy reason, taking out each other's equipment and flying over each other's bases. And this actually could be something that is, one, we know it's a powder keg, but this could be what happens in terms of an event that kicks everything off. Because when you have those people all in the same country taking out each other's stuff, it doesn't take much to, get this thing going. All right, let's talk air bases. Let's see what we got going on. I'm not seeing anything on the board at Biggs Army Airfield. Looks like it's very, very slow in terms of immigration and camber flights, etc., moving troops. Those are all just local aircraft. Now, we get over here to Dover, and that's going to be Dover, Delaware, and you'll see we've got, let me kind of go down the line here. We do have 1 Atlas Air coming in from Miami. A Coletta Air is coming in from CVG, and then we've got 1 Reach, looks to be a C-17. All these others, for the most part, are Cessna 172s. And then we go down to this on the departure. Looks like the camber, both cambers, both of them heading to Europe. This one's going to be heading to RZE, Forward Operating Base. That's probably taking artillery that we just read about. And then this camber flight's headed to Ramstein. Could also be taking some artillery there, or it could have a mix of troops and artillery or equipment that's going to get rerouted over to RZE from there. Then we get over to camber flights. Notice the amount of cambers. We are very, very active and busy. This is going to be a lot of different things. Troops, artillery, some equipment maybe. This one here we just talked about coming out of Ramstein, where it's going to Kuwait from there, right? So this, again, this is probably going to be Coletta or Atlas Air, right, on the 747. It could also be Western Global or National Cargo. So there's quite a few people in the mix now. And then we've got these smaller aircraft. More than likely, these are carrying troops. They could have some cargo on them, but for the most part, they are probably troop related. Notice you've got them out of Fort Worth Alliance, Anchorage, Alaska, Fort Hood, Ramstein, and Cairo. Right. Speaking of Ramstein, let's get over here to this. This looks like you've got one coming in from Doha, one coming in from Dover, one coming in. These are all 747s, wide bodies, and one coming in from Baltimore, Washington, and then, of course, this one coming in from Turkey. That is 767. And then notice the spar flight down there. It's going to be a blue and white coming out of Brussels, right? It's probably NATO related. in terms of a meeting. Remember, too, that they are having a big NATO meeting in July in, I think it's Lithuania or Latvia, somewhere around there. Okay, that camber flight, destination unknown. Go here, another camber to Kuwait, another camber to Baltimore, Washington, Cairo, Turkey, and Kuwait. So these are the ones we just talked about that are already in the air, right? That's why this blue line right here is populated, because it's already airborne. So that sums that up. Now this is RZE. Again, this over here is Ukraine. This over here is Poland. This right here, RZE, is your forward operating base. If we go down a little bit, we'll see if we've got anything going in. We should see an uptick, given that they've just approved more artillery and replacements for Bradleys, et cetera. We should see an uptick going to RZE, because they put it on the train from there and ship it into Ukraine, of probably 747s, if I had to guess. So let's look at the board. We've got this one coming in from Ohio. That's a 747. Go down the list here. 747 from Dover. We looked at that a minute ago. And let me go down to see if anything else on here. Then we go over to the outbound flights, see if we've got any. Atlas Air headed to Hong Kong. That'll probably be empty, or it won't have anything, munitions or troops on it, because it'll fly directly over China. That is a NATO bird headed to Cologne. Let's see. All right, that's it. I don't see anything else on the board. So still kind of light, but because they're replenishing the war effort, though, we will see probably an uptick in terms of what comes in and out. All right, this one here, notice you've got one coming out of Tokyo to Chicago, Los Angeles to Shreveport. Both of these 747-400s. Now, remember, we've been watching a lot of flights coming and going from LAX. My guess is that that's a staging location. They're probably bringing some things in, consolidating it, putting it on a flight, and it'll go across the drink. All right, we get over here. Omni, Manchester to Toronto, Seattle to Fort Worth, and then Fort Worth to McCord. That's going to be Tacoma, Washington. Again, notice the aircraft types, 67300s and 777. So those are probably troops, more than likely. Now, this one coming out of Perot headed to McCord. Yeah, I think that's troops. All right, we had a NATO flight up. It is since landed. All right, so we'll move on. And then this is going to be your Brits, the RRR call sign, and not really seeing any aircraft type or destination. We can just see them in the air, just noting that one's climbing out. It's at 12,400 feet, 442 miles an hour. And again, these look to all be coming out of either Sweden or Norway. Now, this is, if you notice, we always look at these things when we're in FlightAware from the top down. It's one of the reasons why I do appreciate so much using Skyglass, because it gives you that opportunity to kick it up to the side and really look at the different altitude deviations, and it really tells a story as to what you're seeing. Okay. All right. So last one is going to be the iAero, and I just want to point out, notice there are quite a few flights that are headed down into South America from border towns. However, look at the amount, the interior of the United States right there, right? Phoenix to Reno. We've got this one coming out of, looks to be Ontario, California to Greensboro. If I had to guess, this is movement between Amazon fulfillment centers and more than likely carrying some worker bees. Okay. And same thing here. This one is going from, looks like the Phoenix area down to Alexandria, Louisiana. That's going to be a 72-hour holding facility, and then you'll see them on one of these planes leaving. And same thing with that one. It looks to be coming out of Columbus, Georgia to Alexandria. So they're taking folks to that third-party prison location before they get sent across the drink. So Okay, listen, went a little bit long today, but that kind of gives you a general update what's going on. So it does look like we're doing some replenishment of that 15 to 20% of stuff that's already been destroyed in Ukraine's spring offensive. And this, just keep watching it. We should see an uptick going into the forward operating bases and other things going into Europe based on that data point, as well as the point that the military or the DOD has now approved additional funds for Ukraine, and that's where that'll go. So, all right, you guys stay frosty out there, keep that powder dry, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. Check out the latest gear and products over at monkeywerxus.com.